Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's weekly energy boost. My name is Elisheva, and it is a glorious Monday morning here in Los Angeles. I am blessed to be joined by Yehuda Yeshurun once again, back again in the hot seat with me. Today we are talking about talking to God. And as always, every week, the Weekly Energy Boost is your 7-day spiritual weather forecast, where we try to provide our listeners with the most powerful and practical tools to navigate the coming 7 days, to take the opportunities that are coming our way, and to avoid the pitfalls. This week, specifically, the toll-free line to the upstairs office is on constantly. And we want to better understand how to use the tool, what it's for, what does it really mean? There's so much to talk about. We've obviously had episodes on prayer, meditation, intention. You can, if this is your first episode on the topic, you can go back and hear in our archives, of course. But today, really, when thinking about when thinking about what we have to talk about in this week's episode, I always think about, and I'm dating myself here, when I was a kid, I read a book by Judy Blume called Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Same.
So I guess I'm not dating myself because we're not the same age. I'm glad to hear it's still out there and it's still being read. But basically, this cute little girl, I think she was 10, would talk to God just like that. And she would really say, Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. And then continue the conversation. And I've always encouraged my children to do the same, that it literally is that simple, that even though this week there is a special gift, our in a way, let's say figuratively, there is a mountain between us and the the creator, the universe, the upstairs office, as I like to call it. It's almost as though there's a cable car this week, and we can get closer to the Wizard of Oz. So we can get behind the curtain at the Wizard of Oz this week. So we want to really take the opportunity. And I think one of the things about taking opportunities is actually not missing opportunities. And in a roundabout way, that's also what we're providing with our listeners every week, is the opportunity not to miss the opportunities, because these opportunities are there whether you're aware of them or not. The more we're aware of them, the more we can take advantage of them. And on that note, Yehuda Yeshurun, which we decided to dress in the same color today so as not to distract you with our wild fashion choices.
So you said talking to God, right? So I was just thinking about, as you were talking with God. Also, I mean, they're two different connotations, right? Because when
that's true.
You're
Margaret
just
was
talking.
not waiting for an answer. Margaret was kind of using God as her diary.
Right. And well, that's nice, right? I think a lot of us also want to have a conversation with God, the
two-way
creator,
conversation.
the universe. Right. Because if all I'm doing is just talking or praying or saying or whatever, right? And when we talk about talking with God, a lot of people think of the idea of prayer, right? Because that's really what you're doing, right? Maybe it's a request, but it's a conversation that you're having with some external force. And I get a lot of questions about this. There are so many different ways and formats to pray, for example, right? And there isn't one size fits all, in the same way that spirituality is not one size fits all. There are guidelines that we can follow, but even within those guidelines, we talk about things like restriction, right? One of David Guillaume's favorite words. But restriction means 10 different things to 10 different people. There is no one size fits all. And the same is true with this word, prayer, right? Or having a conversation with God. There is no right or wrong way to do it. And that's where I think a lot of people fail to connect with that force, is because there has to be in their mind some form of ritual. And that ritual doesn't have to be specific words, but it can only be a certain time of the day, it can only be this, can only be that. The first thing that I want people to understand, especially when it comes to prayer and having a conversation with the Creator is there all the time and in every format, which means at any given moment, you can be having this conversation. It's not about words, because it has to come from your heart. It's not somebody else's words, right? And it can be at any time, right? We want to be having this conversation all the time. We want to have this open channel, this open line. But we have to also be talking.
Well, one of the things that we brought up, I recall speaking about, although I'm pretty sure it wasn't on this topic, was how there is also this perception that prayer is formal, right? That there's a certain way to do it, or there's a certain place in which it needs to be done. There's certain appropriate things to do or to not do when it comes to prayer. I challenge that. I think the Kabbalists challenge that as well. Of course, there is scripted prayer, and it has a very unique place in the wisdom of Kabbalah. It has a structure. I liken it personally, as a person who studies Kabbalah, that it's almost like an intricate code on a vault. And I go back to thinking of movies like Indiana Jones, or I can't think of one about cracking a vault right now, but let's say, maybe first you have to step on the different tiles on the floor, and then you have to push the different keys in the wall, and then something turns, and there's all these different precise movements that are required, and that if you do those precise steps using those precise codes, you unlock something. You gain access to a vault of sorts. I think what today we are talking about, and this does come up periodically in different episodes on different topics, because it is a big part of living a spiritual life. But the truth is that our communication with the Creator, or the universe, whatever you want to call that force, is constant. It doesn't require, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret." It doesn't require, "Dear God." It doesn't require Hebrew words or Sanskrit words or any other foreign language. In a way, and I shouldn't even have said in a way, practically speaking, our thoughts, our words, and our actions are all forms of prayer. It's in our thoughts and our words and our actions that we are communicating to the universe our desire. And I find that to be frustrating because if you would make a list of all the things that you want, and then take a look at how you thought, spoke, and behaved in the course of the day, you would find contradictions, right? And I don't mean I want to lose 20 pounds to I ate a whole pizza myself contradiction. I mean I want to be a kind and caring human being is on my list of desires, and I'm cutting people off in traffic and muttering 4-letter words as I pass by them. There's a contradiction. So what are we really saying to the Creator? I don't really want to be kind and compassionate. I want to look kind and compassionate. I want to seem kind of and compassionate. I want to be known as a kind and compassionate folk, but I don't really want to do it.
I want to find my soulmate, but I hate people.
there's that one. Actually, I saw somebody posted something so funny a few weeks ago. I have to share it on, I don't know, social media, Instagram. Maybe it said, a large group of people is known as a no thanks.
100%.
That's me, but I can say that. I think a lot of people, that conflict is where people's frustration with God comes from. I'm asking for all these things. I'm not getting them, without the realization that my thoughts, words, and actions are not in alignment with my desire. And that the formality, the reason I started this paragraph with the formality part, is that God isn't only listening when we say the right words, or we're in the right building, or we have the right book open in front of us. The I don't want to sound like too big brothery, but it's like the camera's always recording, the mic is always on, and there's nothing that isn't taken into account. So that doesn't mean that we need to be these crazy hypervigilant, I don't move without, divine permission, at all times. But it's almost like if we're not going to be honest with ourselves, first and foremost, nothing is going to manifest. Nothing is going to happen because there is this lack of alignment in us that interferes with the line of communication to wherever we hope we're communicating.
You're reminding me of one of my favorite quotes from Karen Berg. And I actually have like a little picture with this quote on my desk. God translates our prayers based on our actions.
Right.
Right. And it's because that line is always open that it's not only about what I do in those prescribed moments of prayer, right? But, and those are important too. I think it's important to marry those two ideas together in that, yes, sometimes you need the secret code in the vault and to push all the right buttons to be able to unlock some gate of blessing from the Creator. But if who you are is not a reflection of that, then no password is going to help you, even if it's the correct one. And at the same time, you don't have to always say the right password in prayer if what's in your heart is a reflection of your actions. Then that's what unlocks the gates too. And I think that's kind of that divide where most people don't connect with or don't understand, is that it's not just about the words, it's not just about constantly talking to the Creator, but it's about having both of those things, where I set that time where I have those conversations. I know I can have that conversation all the time, but who I am every single day is what determines whether my prayer will be answered or not. It's not that God's giving me an answer. I'm manifesting my own destiny. Because even when we talk about talking with God, it's not, and yes, there is a force, there is that creative force that we call the Creator in Kabbalah, but that also exists within me. When I pray, when I talk to God, I should be talking to that force inside of me and saying, I need to be a more kind and caring person because that's what I want reflected back in my life. It's not about give me love and kindness, give me a soulmate, give me more money, give me all of these things, but talking to me, allow me to be the person that I'm supposed to be to create that life for myself.
Okay, so you're reminding me of two really important things. And I think it's a great opportunity. I'm forgetting the second one now. Great opportunity to reframe, because while I know some of our listeners are somewhat versed in the wisdom of Kabbalah, many are not. And this is their gateway drug. So I want to make sure that we show also where Kabbalah departs from the conventional understanding of God, God's role. Why would we even want to talk? I have plenty of friends. Why do I need to talk to someone who's not going to answer me, by text or email? Or
leaves me on red.
Right, there you go. Timestamp. Leaves me on red. Okay, yeah, that's what you meant. Anywho, God, according to Kabbalah, is not, that was the second thing, crime and punishment. God is not a punishing force. God doesn't like some people better than others. God doesn't play favorites. God doesn't get, I'm thinking not only in my own childhood of what I had understood prior coming to Kabbalah, but I know from many of our listeners and the people that I work with personally, our perception of what God is also shifts when we start to study this wisdom, because essentially, and we always go to the Hollywood metaphor, God is the producer of the show. You as the individual are the main character, you're the main actor, and you're also the director. The Creator is the one who's responsible, based on your guidance, that you get what you need. So what that means is that when something negative happens, and I had an amazing conversation with a student, somebody who's studying Kabbalah for a good 10 plus years, and a friend of hers, it was diagnosed with a really serious illness. And despite all of her years of studying Kabbalah, she has this belief that her friend is being punished. It's not a conscious, right? It's something that comes up when she's thinking about the pain and difficulty that her friend is enduring. It feels like this woman is being punished, and she's a great person. And why would God punish her? And what did she do wrong? And so in Kabbalah, we understand that it's our universe is has a system of checks and balances, so that even though, I don't like to use the word karma, because we tend to think of karma as like retribution, right? That you'll get what's coming to you is what karma is, right? In Kabbalah, we talk about balancing energy, balancing input and output. So yes, what you give is what you get, but not necessarily in one lifetime. And the soul has a chip, so to speak, that records what's necessary for the rebalancing, and it will come. And I share often, I teach my kids that, better don't be God's policeman. You don't busy yourself with getting people back for what they did to you. God knows a lot better how, where it's going to hurt. I also tell that to the adults I work with, because sometimes when, actually in this case, we were talking about how on one hand, this woman who is suffering greatly has been a good person all her life and doesn't quote unquote deserve what's happening to her. And on the other hand, her ex really deserves it. And why isn't something so tragic happening to him? So part of our understanding of even what it means to communicate with this force is to understand that this force is really only responsible for making sure that our lives adhere to the terms and conditions by which we came to the world. When I came to this lifetime, there was an understanding between me and the producer that I was going to accomplish X, Y, and Z, that I was going to work on A, B, and C. And these are the conditions that I need in order to fulfill that. So the creator is responsible for providing me with the right actors and actresses that are going to facilitate those scenes. The creator is responsible for making sure that I am in the right place for those scenes to happen. I mean, physical place, right? If I need to move to a different city to go through a certain transformation, I'm going to get a job offer in that city. Who was responsible for it? Was it the Kabbalah Centre or Google or the Bank of Hong Kong? No, it was the creator who orchestrated the whole thing. So I would end up in London for that period of time to go through that personal process. And when that personal process was over, I could move on to my next city or level or relationship. That's the creator's role. So why does even communicating with that force matter?
I'm really glad you asked, because I just wrote that down.
This is like a tennis game sometimes.
I love this.
It's yours now.
So here's the thing, right? I mean, if we take the metaphor of a movie producer, you can't produce a movie without communicating to everyone what their role is and what's going on. The producer and director have to be communicating constantly, and that means if I'm the director, I need to be communicating with the creator. What happens so often is that there are moments in life where everything seems to be going really smoothly, and in those moments, it's the easiest to forget that the creator is actually producing the whole show to begin with. And so moments of challenges or these roadblocks happen because when do we talk to God? Not when everything's great. No one talks to God when everything's great. It's, are you there, God? It's me. I need something. When everything's great, I don't need anything. And that's the problem.
I'm in control.
I'm in control. And really, we're not, right? Once we understand we're not in control, we can actually have more control.
Here's the bumper sticker. Just because things are going your way doesn't mean you're in control.
Right.
Trademark.
And that's that's one of the foundational understandings about this force, is that if we want to maintain everything that we have and grow all of those blessings, then we have to be constantly aware of the force behind them and not think, and there's there's a verse in the Bible, in Deuteronomy, where, I mean, literally Moses is warning the Israelites specifically about this one thing. He says, be wary of the moments in your life where you think, and in the original Hebrew, I really love these words, so I'm going to say it in the original Hebrew, Kochi ve'otzem yadi asali et hachayil hazeh. It was my strength and my power and my smarts and intellect that gave me everything that I have today. Be wary of that thought, because it's not. One of the things that Karen Berg always talks about is we all can appreciate a beautiful sunset. But how often do we appreciate the Creator for giving me eyes to see? We got to see
the beautiful
sunset. To see the beautiful sunset. That's one step further, right? I can say, what do you mean? They're my eyes. I can see everything. It's me. No, who gave you that? People out there in the world who don't have that ability, right? So we always have to take it one step back, and that's the idea of prayer or conversing with God. It's constantly reconnecting, because I'm always disconnecting. I'm always hanging up when everything's great. And those are actually the most important times to have a conversation with the Creator.
Well, I know I've spoken about it before, but I have to bring it up again. I know somebody who, as you said, is really tight with the Creator when things are wrong. Okay? Like, not only conversing, but mindful, using the tools, generous, meditation. You know, every tool in the toolbox she grabs when things are difficult. When things are great, crickets. Really, literal crickets. I don't hear from her. God doesn't hear from her. When it's all good, she's all gone. And what I've noticed, and I have brought this to her attention as well, is that one of the reasons that her life is drama-ridden is because that is the only time where she feels humble enough to ask for help. Save me. Save me. Get rid of this person. Get rid of this scenario. Bring me it can be financial, it can be social, emotional. You know, she's been out of a house and home before. Really, from my perspective, as someone in the audience of the movie, right? I'm not even an active participant at this point. It's only because that's the only time she picks up the phone. So making sure, I know there's people that are saying, I talk to God every day and my life is full of drama. I'm not saying that that's the key, but in I think one of the principles that the Kabbalists push us toward is remembering the phone line is always open. You really can't hang up, essentially, is the teaching. So use it. It can't, there's this saying by the great sages, the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you get what you need. One of the challenges with the universe is that sometimes if you desire something strongly enough, even if it's not good for you, you'll get it. And we see that I see it most profoundly in relationships, that people who want a certain person, even though it's not the best person for them, they will find themselves in the relationship with that person, even though it's not the best for them, because they willed it so hard. You know, they manipulated, they forced, they convinced themselves as well that this is what's best for me. So we need to be careful of that, because God listens, right? That's one of the amazing, I wanted to say something I wrote down before, the whole idea of crime and punishment is that we do tend, like the person I mentioned before that feels like her friend is being punished, we do tend to think of life or the universe as one, I shouldn't say crime and punishment, reward and punishment. That good people who do good things live good lives and get what they want, and people who are bad don't. The truth is, our perception is the people who are bad shouldn't, and the people who are good should. So again, of course, that brings up the idea that this, looking at a scene in one person's life is like looking at a Polaroid. For those of you who are too young to know what a Polaroid is, it's a camera. It takes instant pictures, and the reason I use that versus a camera is because you would get the camera printed the picture. So you would get the image within 5 minutes right in your hand. Why am I saying that? A soul lives thousands of years. It's eternal. It has existed for thousands of years. So when you say, well, my ex doesn't deserve the good life he's living, you're only taking into account the 15 or 20 years or even 2 years that you knew him. You're not taking into account the way that the upstairs office does. You're not taking into account the lifetimes that he lived. And that's why I'm saying, trust that the producer is balancing the books. That's actually maybe the best way to say it. The creator is the cosmic accountant. The creator is the cosmic accountant in the sense that no withdrawal is not taken, isn't accounted for, and no deposit isn't accounted for. So if you want to beat the metaphor into the ground, the withdrawal is negative, obviously, and the deposit is positive. That's why the word pause is in it, I would guess. So
pause, what a pleasure.
Pause, what a pleasure. So we haven't said that in a long time on this show. We got to fix that. So bearing that in mind, part of our relationship with the Creator is trusting that even though we don't see the whole picture, even though we weren't there 3 lifetimes ago at the moment of whatever happened that is now brought the particular scenario into a person's life, or even forget about 3 lifetimes ago, we don't know any. I mean, I often ask people, do you know yourself what you did in a previous lifetime to deserve this, or what you did in this lifetime? When I say deserve, again, it smacks of the crime, the reward and punishment. I don't mean that. It's really the situation comes into your life so that you can do something different with it. Not to do what you did before with it, so that you can do something different with it. Not what you did 20 years ago when it happened, or 10 years ago when it happened, or 5 years ago when it happened, or 5 lifetimes ago. And so looking at you meet your accountant a couple times a year to make sure that everything's going okay, but at the same time, you're presuming that the accountant is being meticulous about what's going on the books. That is really what happens. That all of that is taken into account, so that then when you open up the mic, you turn on the speakerphone, so to speak, and you say, you know what, God, I've been working really hard on this, and I really can't catch a break. How can you help me? Throw me a bone, say whatever you want. Then the Creator is able to take the book and say, yes, Yehuda, in fact, you have been making an unusual effort, and I'm going to send you one more person to seal the deal. And if you do your best with that person, you will get said request. Said request will be granted. Am I off? It's a bit comical. I tend to use metaphors.
No, you're reminding me of a conversation both of us had with Karen Berg a couple of years ago. We were sitting together on a Friday night, and we were talking about, why certain things happen to certain people. And Karen mentioned, when things happen in my life, I ask, what am I meant to learn from this? How can I grow from this? Maybe I don't see the whole picture, and so I'm not going to be able to connect all of the dots just because it's beyond my ability to see past this lifetime. And even within this lifetime, there's so many things we don't remember having done to impact people's lives and create deposits and withdrawals. But I don't have that ability. But what I do know is that this is here for me, like you said, to seal the deal. So in those moments, when I talk with the Creator, it's not about, please remove this challenge from my life. It's help me see what message I'm supposed to hear, what lesson I'm supposed to learn, so that this situation not only doesn't have to come back again, but so that I grow from it and therefore draw into my life the very thing that I'm asking you to fulfill. Because that's what the Creator does. He doesn't send us gifts wrapped all beautifully. They're going to be, really the way that I always like to describe it is, if there's a, I think I shared this actually in one of our past weekly energy boosts with you. If there's $1 million check in an envelope that's been driven over, thrown in the mud, tossed in the garbage, and someone gives it to you, do you care what the envelope looks like as long as the check clears in the bank? No one cares. That's what these situations are. It's $1 million check from the Creator wrapped in this challenge that I don't want, or that doesn't feel good. But if I can see through that and understand this is actually where all of the things I'm asking the Creator to fulfill in my life, this is it right here in this moment. Then talking with the Creator and asking is what allows me to hear the other side of that phone line.
Okay, you're answering my next question. Say that again.
Which part?
Just really what you just said. Talking to the Creator is what?
Is what allows me to hear the answer on the other side of that phone line from the upstairs office. 'Cause some of us are under the illusion that we're talking constantly and we're just not hearing anything back. The problem is we're not asking the right questions.
Okay, so this is my question now. So let me interrupt for 30
Okay.
seconds and then you continue. A lot of people have the perception and maybe become even disillusioned or disenchanted by God or with God because they feel that their prayers go unanswered. Why? Why do people why would if God is this beneficent, as we understand it in Kabbalah, the Creator is an endless force of giving and sharing. There is no malice or ill intent or anger or anything like that. Even when you read about God being angry in the Bible, Kabbalah explains that that's a code. It doesn't mean that God has a temper. But yet, if God is this beneficent force, why do people's prayers go unanswered?
A couple of different answers, right? But what's that song by Garth Brooks? Thank God for unanswered prayers.
I'm not a fan.
You're not a fan? Okay, well.
I was going to say the Rolling Stones one. I already did that.
I'm a fan of the message,
Gotcha.
right? Which is, and you sort of mentioned, right? Sometimes we want something so bad that we will it into existence. And many times this force doesn't give us the things we ask for because down the line, that's going to be a disaster. I just simply can't see it right now because I don't have that perspective. I see things clouded with my own agenda. So of course I think to myself, if only I had this, I would be happy. If only this happened in my life, then all these things would fall into place. How many people have money, get married, have children, have all these things in life, and they're miserable? And not only are they miserable, the things that they wish they had becomes the source of their misery to begin with. So sometimes our prayers go unanswered because we're not asking for the right things.
Or the story that the student comes to his teacher and says, I've been praying and doing all this stuff and nothing's happening. Why isn't God answering me? And the Kabbalist answers, God did answer you. The answer is no.
Right. Sometimes the answer is no, but not because this force is like looking at us and just saying like, you know what, I don't feel like it today.
Or you don't deserve.
Or you don't deserve, right? But it's because this force, and this is a basic foundational understanding within Kabbalah, the force that we call the Creator has one purpose in the ancient writings, which is leitiv lenivrav, to give goodness to all creation. That's the purpose of this force, is to actually give us everything we want. But, like we started this conversation, our actions, our thoughts, our words need to reflect that goodness. Otherwise, we're not going to be seeing that result. That force isn't going to behave with us in the same way unless we are reflecting that.
It's funny, I'm thinking about situations in life, and this is extreme, but I think if each one of us looks at our own version of this, it'll make more sense. Imagine that I gave the example about people who, they get so attached to the person that they insist on being with them, even though it might not be the right person. So you look at the different like multi-universe, right? There's the universe where the person is single and maybe wishes they were with somebody. You have the reality where they're dating, but they haven't found anybody. You have the reality where they're with this person that they'd probably be better off without, but they're so fixated on it. Or
it's like sliding doors, right?
Right. But my point is that, let's say the next reality is they're with the person that can really help them reveal their potential, that they can help reveal their potential. And even though there may be more effort on track 5, that's really the most fulfilling one. They're opting for track 4. And not only is track 4 limiting, but it's actually attracting to it chaos. Meaning it's the source problem, but it also creates secondary and tertiary problems. Her girlfriends don't like him. He flirts with other people. It makes her insecure. Like there starts to sprout all of these other weeds because there is a entity is not the right word. There is a reality that isn't ideal that is reproducing unideal ramifications. So I think part of what we want to look at is, why are we asking for what we're asking for? Is it because I was raised to ask like that? Or, I should? We've talked about the danger of shoulds. If should is attached to any reason you are asking for something or asking to not have something, there's going to be a glitch in the system for you, because that's not a true desire. That's either somebody else's desire or somebody else's projection, or a fear that is a fear is not a desire, but often we allow it to create desires for us. And I think one of the things I want to actually leave our listeners with is, I pulled up on my computer Karen's prayer, which I think...
I was just thinking of this, by the way, to end off with
I think it would be a beautiful way to end, as kind of a visualization or something to keep in mind throughout the week. It's obviously for any day, but I think it's especially powerful this week. The realization that not getting what you want can be the greatest gift. And that's why I explain, I use the metaphor of the different tracks, the different realities, possible realities. The Kabbalists explain that there are infinite realities that are possible. And every time we make a choice to go outside of our nature, we upgrade the movie. So I think that one of the things we want to look at is, what am I asking for? What am I talking to God about? And is it really best for me? Is it really what I want? Is it really going to serve me in the highest way possible? Or is it going to limit me? Is it going to make me shrink? If I'm asking for something, maybe it's a job, let's say, and the job is going to keep me small, it's a blessing I'm not getting the job. It's not a punishment. But because I'm thinking about paying the bills, I'm looking at the short term, I'm looking at the technical, the instant reality, I'm going to shortchange myself. And I may get the job, but I'm not going to be happy. And I'm going to even regress in a transformational way because it's keeping me small.
I'm thinking of this true story of one of our students from many, many years ago. I won't go into the whole story because the story is a little bit, it's just longer than this, but this one student of Kabbalah who didn't have a job, was begging for a job, got a job, it was something she really wanted. She would need to travel across the US, and she got all of her plane tickets for the year in advance. And then a few months later, she gets fired, and she's crying, God doesn't, answer my prayers anymore. What happened? Why is it not working? And then a few months later, she realizes that the ticket she got was supposed to be on the plane that crashed into the World Trade Center. And so there are things in life that happen where I think God's not listening to me or not answering my prayers, but in reality, with a little bit of perspective, I can see just how everything's being produced by this force.
That's, I think, our teacher Rav Berg used to say. Actually, it's worth repeating the full anecdote. Somebody came to the Rav and said, "No, I had a miracle. I was in a car accident and I walked away without a scratch." And the Rav answered, "I had an even bigger miracle. I wasn't in a car accident." And the Rav gave a whole discourse afterwards. It didn't stop there. It was really the idea that most of the miracles that happen to us are not revealed. We don't see them. And the reality is that being saved from something we want is a huge miracle. It really is a huge blessing. And maybe Yehuda's example, the World Trade Center example, is a bit extreme, but it really does prove the point. You don't always get to see where you would have been if your prayer was answered and you got what you wanted, and what kind of, I don't want to say destruction, because that literally was destruction, but you'd be miserable if you got it. So it's better that you didn't. And that's what it means that the Creator is here to benefit the creations. That like a parent, well, sometimes parents work with agenda too, but the Creator is looking at the long term. Not, are you happy right now? How can I make you happier right now? But rather, what's going to be best for you? How can I set you up for long-term success? It may be uncomfortable now. You may be left wanting now, but in the long term, you will be happier, you will be more fulfilled, and you will be more connected. The purpose, if David were here today, he'd be talking about how our purpose is to develop our relationship with the Creator. Our purpose, right? We are here to grow that connection. And growing that connection is not just in having that conversation. It's also in the way we behave, the way we act, how we direct our consciousness. Creating an affinity with that force is how we grow closer. It's not about physically close. God is sitting next to me and on the other side of the room from you, but rather the closeness comes from the similarity. And as such, the constant conversation. I mean, David actually shared a few months ago that he literally talks out loud to the Creator. Now he'll go to a quiet place or he'll lock himself up in a room and he'll be like, God, listen, audibly. You can hear him if you pass by. And how powerful, what a reset to the consciousness, pausing your day and having almost like God is your life coach, chatting with the Creator, assessing the day. What do you got to get done next? What do you need help with? What are you grateful for? And what do you need? And having that, I want to read Karen's prayer because Karen, this was something that Karen gave us as sort of that morning, the way to start the day, not only with gratitude, but with a desire to have that affinity. And so I'm going to read it. I guess if you want to get out a piece of paper and a pen, I'll say it slowly. Maybe somebody will type it into the comments. We can put it into the description. Make my thoughts match your thoughts. Make my eyes see what you see. Make my mouth speak the words you want me to say. Open my heart to love all people the way you love them. Make my hands be hands that give more than they take. Make my body a vessel and a tool to complete the mission for which I came. Make me not only a vessel for your light, but also a channel also a channel that I transmit your light. In all my interactions today, please do not make me share my thoughts, neither my words nor my energy, but only your light, because only from your light can you give wisdom and understanding, and only through your light can miracles and wonders occur. So that's a very expansive desire to start the day with. Obviously, any time you put that thought out there, that desire out there, that prayer out there, it's going to create a shift. I don't know, we share it in the level 2 course that we teach at the Kabbalah Centre as a way to, it's connected most to love, that our purpose is to grow in our love and to learn to love fully and completely and in the way that the Creator loves, which I think is really powerful. So on that note, Yehuda,
Elisheva,
I thank God for sending you here today. Thank you, God. This has been wonderful. Thank you, listeners, for listening. Thank you, Yehuda, for being amazing as always. The Weekly Energy Boost is available everywhere podcasts are found: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow our social media accounts, Weekly Energy Boost. You can rate, review, like, and share. Obviously, sharing is the way that we have our greatest impact.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. And please check our website, weeklyenergyboost.com, for any listener offers that we have running this month. That's where you'll always find them, as well as all of our archives and some transcripts and other goodies. I guess that's it. I guess we'll hear next week how everybody's conversations with God went, and we'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.